All-Star game tomorrow. We got no games Wednesday. Giants back on Thursday at Dodger Stadium against the Dodgers. So they don't have to go anywhere. Think about that. Carlos Rodon and Jock Peterson could just stay in La La Land and relax as the Giants get ready for the second half of the season. But let's... I'm not reading that 323 on the Comcast business text line. That's not right. I'm not reading that. You're trying to have me sleep on the couch. I'm not doing that. I'll talk to Laura Britt. Doing a phenomenal job. First season as Giants Pre and Postgame host on the NBC Sports Bay Area course. She's done Niners. She's done Giants. Maybe she'll do some Warriors next year. Maybe not, because I'm not trying to get Wally Pett. I still need that money, Laura. Not doing Warriors. Not going to take my job. All right. Laura Britt, good morning. It's good to have you back on the roast. First of all, hand clap for Laura Britt, everybody. Can I get an applause button? Phenomenal job first half of the season, holding it down with the Giants alongside Carlos Ramirez. We want to shout you out for that one. Now you get some much-needed rest going into the break.
Yeah, thank you. It sounds like you guys have a large crowd there with you, so I appreciate that. I'm very excited about the second half of the season. I think everybody is ready for a little bit of a break here in the middle of the season. The Giants certainly need it, get a little bit healthy. But I do kind of agree with the momentum. You know, they're going into the All-Star break with all this momentum on their side, and then they start the second half of the season on the road, although it is in Dodger Stadium. That brings fire of its own, so maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay.
If you would summarize, it's not the first half because they've played more games than that.
It's the first half, Shasky. Don't be that guy.
It's the first half.
Don't be that guy.
What do you mean be that guy? I'm trying to be technical here. I'm like,
now you want to be accurate?
It feels like they are playing their best brand of baseball over the last 10 to 12 days here. Where are you at right now in terms of who are the 2022 San Francisco Giants?
Well, that's, I think, the million-dollar question, and why this team is so hard to figure out, and why it's so frustrating. Because you see them over the last 7 games, and they're 5-2. Granted, it's against the Diamondbacks, but also the Brewers, and I get that the Brewers have hit a little bump in the road, but they're not a bad team. But 5-2 over the last 7, in the manner in which they won those games, I think is what's critical there. So you get a Mike Yastrzemski, first walk-off grand slam in 49 years. I get all these baseball guys that a lot of times will say, all it takes is one swing of the bat, one game, just even one moment in the game. And for a while I believed that, and then I got to the point in the Giants season where I was like, do I believe that if just one swing of the bat could change this thing? Is that really going to be able to turn around the Giants' struggles? I think a moment like Mike Yastrzemski made me a believer, made me change my mind. And that compiled with what they've been able to do on Tuesday against the Diamondbacks, a 13-0 shutout. That'll do it. Some one-run games that they actually won instead of lost. That'll do it. And then you get Mike Yastrzemski. All of these things start to combine. So it's a hard question. I mean, you can't really figure out who they are because in June they had started the month with the easiest schedule in all of the majors, and they go 13-13 in June.
Yeah.
Some people say, "Oh, don't look at the schedule." I heard you talking about that earlier, Shasky. That people would say to you, "You can't look at the schedule." Well, then what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, I'm a schedule looker.
What are you supposed to do if you can't look at the schedule and they're losing to bad teams? And I get that. It's baseball. It's every day. But when you're going 3-3 against the Diamondbacks this season, that starts to be more of a trend than just, it's a one-off. They had a bad day. They faced a good pitcher, which has happened to them many times this season. But that also happens to every other team in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, especially after they went 17-2 against the Diamondbacks last season and a combined 32-6 against the Rockies and D-backs. They've got to get fat and happy off these teams. And when they come out of the break, because, Laura, I'm like you. I love looking at the schedule. Shasky knows this. I look at June. I look at July. I'm looking at August. But these games out of the break, 4 against the Dodgers, 3 against the Diamondbacks, 4 against the Cubs. Can you go 7-4? Can you go at least 7-4 in that 11-game stretch? And then you come back home with 4 against the Dodgers, 2 against the A's, and then 3 in San Diego. That's a pivotal stretch. If we're going to figure out, all right, is this team a contender? Are they a pretender? Are they going to be in the sweepstakes for a Juan Soto? What's going on with that? I just don't know who this team is. But speaking of Juan Soto, what are your thoughts on Juan Soto? What's your limit to maybe acquiring a player like Juan Soto, Laura?
Well, I'd be a terrible GM. I think we established this when we were talking about the 49ers last year, too. I'm like, spend whatever it takes. Get whoever. You got to have the splashy name. And the Giants have Jock Peterson this season. He's obviously played and won in big markets in L.A. and Atlanta. And I heard you guys talking about the All-Star, him being in the All-Star game. He's got all these fans from, East Coast to West Coast voting him in. So, yeah, he might have struggled as of late, but he's been, a really big positive for the Giants overall. Mm-hmm. You've got to have a young guy that can come in and give this fan base hope, something to show up every night for, middle of the week games. What are you showing up at the ballpark for? You're showing up for a Juan Soto.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting. Now, what is it going to take to get him is the problem. I mean, he just turned down a 15-year, $440 million offer.
Must be nice to do that. You imagine us doing that, Shasky?
But you know what?
Hey, Nahegan,
no,
3-year, $1 million contract year, we're good.
But it's only $30 million a year. Like, I know that we want to lose our minds about the $400 million. It's 15 years, number one, and you break it down, and I know they backloaded it, but we're only looking at like $30 million. I think Scherzer's making 40 this year individually, and he's a pitcher. So, like, I get what you're saying, but it's about the long-term play and locking that player up. That's actually a steal for a player of his caliber at his age. He's not 29, he's 23.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you there. And I also think this plays a huge part that most of us will never know. I mean, there's sometimes you get reports on this. He's also playing for the Nationals.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't want to be in D.C. For 15 years. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But I'm just assuming that if he's going to turn down offers like that, and him and his agent obviously know that he's worth more than that, and that teams will pay more than that. But that's going to be a factor. Where does this guy want to play?
Yeah,
that's going to play a part. And I haven't really seen. Have you seen any reports about where he wants?
It's all speculation. It's going to be the same people in every year.
Right.
I don't care who the player is. Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers, Giants. Yep. They're all going to be in on it.
Mets,
and maybe St. Louis and the Mets.
The Mets will be sneaky. The Phillies will be sneaky. You look at those markets. Probably not the Blue Jays, but even though that's an attractive lineup, he's like, hey, I'll go play with Vlad Jr., Bichette, and Springer. That would be sick in Toronto. So I just don't think of D.C., Laura, as a baseball town. I mean, you grew up closer to D.C. than we did out here on the West Coast. I feel like D.C.'s a Washington football team town. Not even the Wizards, but is it a baseball town out there? So I don't blame them for saying no to 15 years, $440 million, when 15 years, $440 million for the Yankees will probably be a lot sexier for Juan Soto.
I think D.C. is a United States, president of the United States town.
Political town.
Politics town. Yeah, I mean, it's just everything's overshadowed by that. So I think that plays a part in it. So money aside, you got to factor in where this guy wants to play. I think San Francisco is obviously an attractive market, but it is going to come down to money. It's going to come down to what Bryce Harper said with taxes. I know that sounds stupid, but
it's
a real thing for all these guys.
Listen, it doesn't matter
for me,
but it's a real thing. Yeah. However, it seems like when it comes to the Padres and the Dodgers, taxes don't come up.
Well, lifestyle matters as well because the real estate market's a little cooler down in those areas. The weather and the lifestyle. So those are parts of it. Forget, I think we all agree. Yeah, go after Juan Soto. Here's my question. Forget the prospects because none of us have seen any of the prospects. Some people are emotionally attached to him. They haven't even seen him live.
Right.
What if they had to throw in Logan Webb? Let's just say, hypothetically, would you include Logan Webb if that was the only way you could get back Juan Soto?
Oh, that's so tough. The only reason I would have hesitancy there, well, because he's a really good pitcher. He's a homegrown guy, and so what kind of message are you sending to your team? You have to. I don't know the guys as well as Farhan Zaidi knows the clubhouse. I don't know the feel, but Logan Webb is a very likable guy. I'm not going to say the glue that's keeping that team together by any stretch. I don't know that there's really that one specific guy right now for the Giants, but he definitely is part of it. So that could be a little dicey. That could be a little tricky. Are you going to blow it all up for one guy? I don't. Oh man, I don't know. I think I'd just have to see.
That's a tough one.
More of the details because that's really tough.
Yeah, that's a tough one because
you have to factor in the bigger picture. And what does that do? What does that do to the environment within the clubhouse that you're making? And maybe it's great. And people say, yeah, you went all in, you got Juan Soto. Because I'm not thinking from a fan's perspective here. The fans aren't playing on the field. It's the players that are.
Yeah.
So that's what matters. You've got to make sure that you've got buy-in, and it seems right now that Kapler does have buy-in for, the philosophies that the Giants are playing with platooning guys and things like that. You've got to make sure that that's the right move for the actual players on the team. I don't think anybody's going to complain that you're getting Juan Soto, but if you give up a Logan Webb, it does get. Yeah. I don't know. I can't answer it.
My thing, Laura, is you can go buy pitching. Like, there's always a pitcher that's becoming available. And Farhan has proven, look, he bought Gosman in for the cheap. A lot of people say, well, Gosman, who knows? He got rocked in Baltimore. Didn't work out for him in the AL East. Well, he turned Gosman into a $110 million man, right? Because Gosman pitched well for the Giants. He finds Rodon, right? Rodon leads the White Sox. Rodon has pitched great, became an all-star this year. And now we're thinking, man, how are you going to keep Rodon? He's going to want a long-term deal. He's more than likely going to opt out of this deal, this player option. So I always feel like you could buy pitching, and that's why Juan Soto, Logan Webb, it'd be tough, but I would probably deal him for a Juan Soto. But speaking of which, do you think the Giants will be active without a Juan Soto? If it's not Juan Soto, do you think the Giants will be buyers at the deadline coming up on August 2nd?
Well, Farhan talked about that last week, and he said, listen, if we're close enough to be making a push, then we will. We'll be active. And I believe him when he says that. He did it last year. So I think I'm going to take Farhan at his word, and if the Giants are close, and right now they're just half a game out of that third wild card spot, so right now they're close. But back to the schedule, it's going to depend on how July ends up and how August goes, because you've got the Dodgers twice that you got to face 8 games over the next 4 series are against the Dodgers, and that's what's confusing. Back to our earlier discussion is the Giants sweep the Dodgers when they were playing terrible baseball, and then you go and lose a bunch of games to terrible sub-500 teams throughout the entire month of June. So that's why I can't. It's hard to get a litmus test for what you can expect in these series. It's part of what makes live sports so fun and exciting, because I don't know what's going to happen in these 8 games against the Dodgers. For the Diamondbacks and the Cubs, you would hope that they would, I'm not saying sweep both of those series, but let's get close to it. The Giants need to be, Giants can drop one, maybe, one game in each of those series. But when you're facing the Dodgers, are they going to be the team that swept the Dodgers at Oracle Park? Or are you going to be the team that lost to, earlier in the season to the Dodgers? I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell with this team. Now, we've talked a lot of negatives. I think you've got to look at some of the positives for this team. And when you look at the positives, Gabe Kapler was talking about this with Luis Gonzalez. What an exciting guy that's getting overshadowed by comparing the Giants to the 2021 team. Mm-hmm. And I think you do have to focus some on the positives. And the pitching this year has been good for the Giants. So if that can continue throughout the second half, and you can get some of these Luis Gonzalez in the lineup consistently, some of these guys that have been sparks for the Giants, like a Mike Yastrzemski, like Jock Peterson, doing it all at the same time.
So speaking of which, a couple quick ones for you before you leave. 8 days away from training camp, will Jimmy be a Niner? We could get into that later with you, Laura. But how about this? Since Sam Lubman made an appearance on Giants Pre and Post on Hang Up and Listen, we were all watching. Sam Lubman, Sam from Concord, is our producer here on the Morning Roast. That was him, and he ripped Slater. I'll play this for you, and then I'll bring up some numbers. Check this out. Sam Lubman on Hang Up and Listen with you, Carlos Ramirez, and I believe Rich Aurelia.
He wasn't quite ready.
Do you have more calls?
We've got more calls. Okay. Sam in Concord, you're on the line.
Gabe Kapler's starting to get into that habit of over-managing again. Jock Peterson's the best player on the Giants, but got a lefty pitcher coming up, so we got to pinch hit Jock for Austin Slater or Darren Ruff, because we got to get that righty-lefty matchup. Never mind the fact that Jock is hitting better against lefty pitchers than either Slater or Ruff. I mean, if you want to follow the data, that's fine, but at least follow it correctly. I'll hang up and listen.
Well, since that phone call, Laura, all Austin Slater has done is bat .485 with the OPS over 1,000 and slugging over 600. And oh, by the way, he's had 16 hits and 37 plate appearances since that call. And Jock Peterson, what is the number, Shasky, since that call? Jock Peterson basically batting, what, 118?
7 for 44, 0 home runs, hasn't hit a home run since June 25th, and he's batting .159 with a .250 slugging percentage.
Let's blame Sam Lubman, Laura.
Blame him. Blame him. I think the problem is it's very frustrating in those moments. What have you done for me lately? Every sport is like that. You've got recency bias. And so, yeah, in those moments, do you want to see Jock Peterson at that time? Yeah, you do. But the Giants don't play that brand of baseball anymore. In 2021, if you say it doesn't work, that's false. They won 107 games in 2021 using the same philosophies that they're using now. So, yes, it gets frustrating. I mean, I think most people watching sometimes get really frustrated. But they have numbers and analytics that go far beyond anything that we could ever even look up, probably. Yeah. I mean, they've got teams of people doing this. Am I saying that that's the right way to do it? It's their way of doing it. That's what they're doing now. And so get ready to ride the frustration, because the frustration's going to come, but usually the numbers even out. I mean, isn't that how Vegas works?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So no
doubt. No doubt. Hey, Sam Lutman, blame him. Laura Britt, Giants Pre and Postgame show host. What are you going to do for the break? You're going to get some vacation, get some time off, spend with the kids?
Yeah, we've had a little bit of a rough stretch over the past week, so we're going to try and rest up, get my family healthy. My daughter had a hospital stay, so we're trying to get her We just got back home last night, so good news there.
We saw the balloons. It looked beautiful. Looked like your daughter. I saw a caption where you said, "Yeah, she thinks it's her birthday. She's getting so much love." So we were definitely thinking about you. We didn't want to bring it up, but it looked like she was doing better and better.
Yeah, she is. I appreciate that, and to everybody that's reached out, it's been so sweet to have a lot of support. But I need the All-Star break too. But that's why, I've been missing from Giants coverage some here and there over the past month, just some tough moments for our family. They say when it rains, it pours, and we're in the middle of a pouring season, but hopefully brighter days ahead.
Any advice for Joe Shasky getting ready for training camp next Tuesday as players report to Santa Clara? He may run into Jimmy Garoppolo. You never know.
Let me know how that conversation goes. I can't wait to see how that conversation goes. You got to do the sun hat, which I think you guys do. You're big believers of the sun hat, right?
No doubt.
The sun hat?
Yeah.
Your boy is rocking the sun hat on the golf course 24/7, 365, because I'm pasty. I'm as white as can be, and I'm not trying to put aloe vera on my body for the next 2 weeks after a good sun trip. So, yeah, I wear the big sun hat all day, every day.
I always look forward to the content from you, too, coming out of training camp. It's really great.
Well, your boy, Laura, I don't know if you've heard.
He'll be wearing a sun hat in Europe.
Yeah, I'm flying out to Europe on the 20th.
Yeah, that's right. You're going to Europe.
The day of training camp.
You're ditching Shasky to go to Europe.
Word is he might sign a contract with Liv.
Yeah, I may not come back. They already trying to boot me
in the Saudi Arabia area.
They're out here bragging about how happy they are that I'm not going to be around. Well, you know what? I may not come back, Laura. I might just come back to you guys at NBC and tell me he can move me to the afternoons and ditch these dudes. You see how quickly they're trying to ditch me?
The Roasters wouldn't be happy with that.
No, the Roasters would not.
A great duo.
But Shasky and Lutman and Langford's waiting in the wings trying to Wally Pitt me. They're all happy. Like they're fist pumping. I'm not going to be gone for 13 shows. Who's counting though?
He should have left weeks ago.
13 shows. Wow, what are you doing to your co-host?
Feel me?
Bonta, going to take a vacation for 13 shows. Hey, by the way, I don't play Madden. The last video game I played was Donkey Kong. So I need a simple controller.
What?
This is why we love Laura. She listens to the show.
I can't do the one where you've got the vision where you're looking up with your right hand and then you're moving with your left. I'm not that coordinated.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Shasky's waiting for my
I'm not opposed to learning.
No, that's hey,
I'm Donkey Kong, Sonic the Hedgehog.
We got to get to
Mortal
Sega Genesis.
Kombat. That was my gaming days.
We have to dust off the Sega Genesis. Sonic Boom. Yeah, Mortal Kombat. Get over here. Sub-Zero, yeah, you had Raiden, Mortal Kombat was my game. Sonic the Hedgehog, too.
The graphics on these games nowadays are great, but nothing beats Mortal Kombat and Donkey Kong. Super Mario.
And nothing beats Laura Britt on the Morning Roast. Our roasters love it. We all love it. Laura, go get some rest. We're glad your daughter's doing great. We will talk to you very, very soon as the Giants season heats up. They're hot right now, winning 7 of their last 9 going into the break. Laura, you're always good to us. Take care.
Great being with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Bonta.
Look at that hype flicks. Shasky looked like he's waiting for Bonte's demise.